half sheet of paper numbered 1 to 8. This is not a pop quiz. You wish. One set of concepts from yesterday, you would have nailed it, wouldn't you? Maybe tomorrow. Hmm? Oh, it's just true or false. So what I'm going to do is I am going to give you 8 what you would call fun facts. You know, fun facts, like the kind of thing that's so weird you like to tell everybody. Did you know that in 1939 there was a British ship called the HMS Porcupine? And it broke in two, and they actually named the two pieces the HMS Pork and the HMS Pine. That's true. So these are like that, but more sciencey. More like if they were true, they'd need some basis in science. And your job is simply going to be to decide whether you think they are true or not. True or false. Good? Here we go. Number 1. You accidentally swallow about 5 spiders a year. True or false? Good. Number 2. You only use 10% of your brain.
You only use 10% of it.
Talk with your hands. Number 3. Men think about sex on average every 7 seconds. Number 4. This one's kind of a bummer. Spousal abuse skyrockets on Super Bowl Sunday. Sounds like a headline. Lots of alliteration. Number 5. If you don't wait a half an hour between eating and swimming, you could get cramps and drown. 6. Also a bummer. Suicide rate increases sharply during the Christmas holidays. Seven, the daddy long legs has enough poison to kill an elephant, but no way to inject it. And number 8, over 60% of statistics are made up on the spot by people trying to win an argument. Okay, let's see what you thought. I'm going to get this. 5 and 3, 4, 4. Well, let's go that way first. Raise your hand if you had this split evenly. 4 true and 4 false. Count them up. Raise your hand if you were 4 and 4. Five true, 3 false. Raise your hand. 6, 7. 6 and 2. 6 true, 2 false. 1, 2, 3. 7 and 1. All 8 true. 3 and 5. 3 true, 5 false. 2 and 6. 6 false. And 1 and 7. None true. Okay. That's what we call a bell curve. Nice.
So we're gonna get the answer.
Yeah, let's go through this. This time. Ah! Too far. This one is fun because most people don't, I don't know, spiders get blamed for a lot of stuff. And the idea is that like you're sleeping, right? And the spiders drift in and accidentally go in your mouth and you're just like, and you don't notice. What you need to know is that spiders are very much their instinct is to be afraid. It's not really fear, but they are programmed to avoid large mammals that aren't killable by them. Anything above like a baby mouse, they know to stay away from you. And especially if they're somewhere near the big wet suck hole that is your mouth, the pit of death that is your mouth, they don't want to be near that. They will avoid it at all costs, right? They feel your hot breath and they're going to get away from that, right? They sense a warm-blooded mammal that's much larger than them, they will move away from it, not towards it. You are not their prey.
Are most spiders like blind?
No, they have eyes. They're not as good. I think most of them aren't as good as like insect eyes, but yeah, they have them. Now, the one argument for this one, I guess, would be that most food processing plants have certain tolerable levels that they're allowed by the FDA to have of what they call filth, which is like, roach droppings and insect parts and probably spider parts too. So maybe if you count that, maybe, but not the way people think about it. Number 2. Okay, maybe you're using 10% of it now. But when you get up and walk to your next class, you'll be using a different 10%. And when you throw the baseball later in the day, you'll be using a different 10%. You use the whole thing. This is used to say that there's some like 90% untapped potential, like that movie Limitless, like that if you tapped into that, you'd be super intelligent. And it's just that you don't use it all at once. You use it all. You just don't use it all at the same time. So no to that one. Okay, for the next 7 seconds, I'll time you. I want you to avoid thinking about elephants completely. Ready? Go. What'd you all just think about? Do you have any idea how hard this would be to test? Because as soon as someone knows you're testing for what they're thinking about, they change what they're thinking about. It's not that it's impossible, it's just that this is never necessary. The statistic people throw around, which is this, is not scientifically backed up. It's never been established that men think about sex on average every 7 seconds. The image here is of the big drunk male abuser who's a football fan, his team's losing and blah, blah, blah. The truth is that on Super Bowl Sunday, what are most football fans actually doing? And watching the game? They're busy. They're actually a little bit less likely to abuse on days like that. Do you love this one? Raise your hand if you've broken this one multiple times. Do you know anybody who's gotten cramps from eating a big meal and drowned?
They didn't drown, but
what really happens when you eat a big meal is that a lot of your blood supply goes to your small intestines to absorb nutrients, and sure, that will make you tired. And it's probably not a good idea to swim when you're super full and super tired. And I don't know, maybe you'll puke. But cramps are not a common occurrence from big meals. It's just not a thing. This one's a lot like the Super Bowl Sunday one in that, yeah, it sucks to be alone during the Christmas holidays. But the truth is that most of us aren't, right? Most of us, whoever we do have, we seek them out and spend the holidays with them. And so you are actually less likely to commit suicide when you're with other people. And so the rates actually do go down some during the holidays. How many of you have heard this before, at least? Let's give it the 2-year-old test. How many of you know a 2-year-old? You ever met a 2-year-old?
Mm-hmm.
When a 2-year-old grabs something, no matter what it is, where does it go? Have you ever heard of a 2-year-old's death being related to inadvertent daddy long legs consumption? Because they're not venomous at all. They're actually not even technically spiders. They belong to a different group. And of course, I made that one up. None of them are true. This is not an exercise to make you feel dumb. I believed probably all of these at one point in my life. Probably embarrassingly late in my life. The point is, we love these things. Let me ask you a different question. What makes us human? What makes humans different from the rest of life on Earth? Let me ask it that way. Ideas? Ooh. No, there's other organisms that have the same number of chromosomes as us. They're different chromosomes, but the number doesn't mean much, it turns out. A potato has 72. You've got 40. You've got 46. Yeah. Ooh, talking's good. Are there other animals that can talk to each other? Dolphins apparently have a pretty complex language. But you're getting at something there. I like it. Why is our language able to be so complex?
Because of our ability to adapt quickly.
Okay. Where does that come from? Smart. Where does that come from? It's pretty much our big fat brains, isn't it? Like, okay, opposable thumbs are cool, but like you got to have the brains to use them to manipulate stuff, like the piano and write a novel and poke somebody in the eye. The big fat brain is. Oh, I love when you give that look, Katie. So dumb. I know. Like, isn't he dumb? So our big fat brains are like our superpower, right? Except sometimes they're not. Except sometimes they're so powerful that we believe things just because they sound cool and we want them to be true, don't we? Don't we? Right? So here's the thing. The point of all this is that science is a way of knowing stuff, but it's different from other ways of knowing stuff in that one of its primary purposes is to keep us from doing that. And this is the part you should write down in your notes. This is the only notes of the day. Put what there? Ew. Yes. Did you pick it out? No. No, we have sinks and soap right here. It's a way of knowing stuff that has explicit safeguards against fooling ourselves, against wanting to believe something so much that you do believe it, against, in fact, sometimes wanting something to be true so much that you make it true. Any researcher worth anything is aware and actively building in things to their experiment to avoid the fact that they want their research to come out a certain way. You build your experiment so that there's no way you can fool yourself, no matter how bad you want it to be true. All right, take that half sheet of paper and flip it over. And now we're going to play make-believe. It's Katie again. She gave me you're very expressive, even with a mask. You're very expressive. I like it. It's hard to read people usually. So you're going to be in groups, and you are now officially pharmaceutical biochemists. Congratulations. All right, so groups are you four, you two, Lance, you're behind you three, and then four. And your group of pharmaceutical biochemists has been working for, well, since probably February. And you believe that you have developed a drug in pill form that will cure COVID. Big? Better believe it. Your task, and somebody needs to take notes, maybe all of you, is to design an experiment that will test whether your pill actually works. You did the hard work, right? You got the pill. How do you know if it works? Consider me like your lab manager. You're going to give me your plan, including all the stuff that I'm going to need to get for you, materials, test subjects. What are you going to do? How are you going to set it up? How are you going to make sure you're not fooling yourself? And then, real important, how are you going to measure? What are you going to measure to tell if your pill works? That's going to take some thought. That's going to be COVID specific, right? Got it? I'm going to give you 8 minutes, starting now.
Who wants to write them up?
Okay, your 8 minutes is up. Are you happy with your experiment so far? What do you need? What do you need from me as your lab manager? What materials are you requesting?
Big building.
Big building? I like that. Why? What people? You didn't say anything about people.
Test subjects.
You need test subjects. What needs to be true of your test subjects? They have to be volunteers. You can't experiment on people without their consent.
Same environment.
You're going to manage some variables. That's what we call it. You said you want them in the same environment. That's why you bought a building. Good. Good. What else? Oh, they got to be sick. Yeah, they got to have COVID. So you better be testing them for COVID. We're going to need a lot of COVID tests for this experiment, I would think. What else? Any other variables you want to manage? Same environment. What does that include? What do you want to be the same? All these people. Yeah, we want to manage their diet, their sleep. What else? Ooh, I like it. Yeah, they should probably be somewhere around the same age, or if we're testing different age groups, we should be calling that out. Just incidentally, do you know where most pharmaceutical companies get their test subjects? We want them to be roughly the same age. They have to be old enough to volunteer. That's 18, right? They have to be relatively healthy. It helps if they're a little bit gullible and poor, right? They need money. You're going to pay them. Be helpful if you could pay them whatever you wanted. College, yeah. This is absolutely true. When you go to college, I promise, when you go to like the student union or whatever, you will see signs like with the little tear off tabs that say like, do you have the flu? Do you need $500? Come to this facility and volunteer for this research program. Don't do it. I had friends that did. It's not fun. And it's, side effects and getting poked with needles a lot and stuff like that. But yeah, that's where a lot of them come from. Okay, so you got how many college kids you want?
A lot.
Yeah, more's better, right? Remember sample size?
We said 200.
I like it. 200. What do you do with your 200 kids? After you've managed all the variables, made sure they're all eating the same, getting the same amount of sleep. That's why it helps to have your own facility if you got the budget. That was a good idea.
You give half of the bill.
Why half of them?
Because you want to see if they will get better faster than the other half.
Interesting. So you're not going to give them all the pill. And you said that's because?
We want them to have the same mindset. So we were thinking.
Oh, interesting. Wait. Hold on to that. That's absolutely true. But let's address the first thing. Why don't we give them all the pill? If we gave them all the pill and they all got better, wouldn't we have proof that the pill works? We have nothing to compare it to if we give them all the pill. You're absolutely right. In every experiment, we have to have a group that gets the treatment and a group that doesn't. What do we call the group that doesn't? What do we call the group that doesn't? Riley? Absolutely, the control group. Every experiment better have a control group. Otherwise, you're not proving anything, right? Everybody gets better. Yeah, so I like it. So 100 of them get the pill and 100 of them don't. Perfect. We'll come back to that because it's not perfect, right? You guys, at least multiple groups came up with something that is a problem if you just give half of them the pill and half of them nothing. We'll come back to that. For now, what are you going to measure to see if your pill works? How do you know? Yeah. I like it. The speed of their recovery. How are you going to measure whether they have it or not? Because there's a couple different options here. Ben?
I would say they take a COVID test every day.
Yeah, you could go with test every day for COVID. Absolutely. And, if what you want is them to test negative in the shortest amount of time, that's perfect. The problem with COVID is that a lot of people are asymptomatic. And then some of them show symptoms, and then a small fraction of them have serious symptoms. So another thing you could measure would be what? Like how severe their symptoms are and how long symptoms last. If you're just concerned with symptoms, that would be a good thing. If you want it to be more therapeutic than curative, that would be enough. Yeah, good. But we have to come back to our big fat brains, don't we? Because not only are your brains so big that they will make you believe stuff to be true, but it turns out that if you all had the cold and I gave you all a pill with nothing in it and told you that it was a cold pill, about half of you would show actual physical improvement in your symptoms just because you know you're supposed to. Isn't that messed up? But it's been observed again and again. What's that effect called? Some of you know. The placebo effect. The placebo is just a make you feel better pill, like a pill with nothing in it or a treatment that's fake. And so that's a problem, right? Because now we're not testing. The way I set it up, we're not testing whether your pill works. We're testing whether the placebo effect exists. So what do? There's two ways to do it, and only one of them is legal. Some of you know, because you thought of something first, a way to fix that, and then you thought, you're probably not allowed to do that. Because the one way to go at it is nobody knows that they're getting a treatment, which would mean you'd have to do something like crush the pill up and put it in their drink, right? Somehow slip them the medication without them knowing. Turns out you're not allowed to do that. You just can't. Not legal. So what do you do instead? A couple of you had the model already. Didn't you guys figure it out? Give half of them your pill. The other half get a fake pill. Now both groups are going to show the placebo effect. About half of them are going to show some improvement just because they think they should. Now, any difference between the two groups, maybe it's because of your pill. Good job. That's most of a good experiment. There's still one big problem, but we're going to save it for tomorrow. That is all I'd like to get done today. I don't have an assignment for you.